We're back. Episode 12. Before we get into it, I think we had some articles we wanted to talk about.
So the article that I shared was these guys we've talked about. They've been bear hunting before, which is something I've never done and I would love to. And it was an older Outdoor Life.
1963.
Yeah, 1963, which is pretty cool. So it's always nice to hear and read stories from, long time ago to see how the differences in how they hunted. And would you kind of share what you were just saying?
So the article is about a bear that had killed some dogs, hounds, and also had killed some calves. And so a whole group of people got together on horseback and pursued the animal with, I think they said they had 10 dogs total. So there was a lot of it that was really normal. They had 2 hounds they put on the ground that were basically strike dogs. In other words, those are the dogs probably with the best noses, and they could trust them. They weren't going to run something else like a cat or something like that. Pretty normal. That's what we use. We always use Tree and Walker as a strike dog. Then they had the rest of the hounds they put in once they jumped the bear. They put the rest of the hounds on it. Now, they were on horseback pursuing the dogs and the bear because they didn't have telemetry in 63. Telemetry probably existed, but average person probably didn't have a telemetry system. And so we were kind of the telemetry when I was young. Because we didn't have a telemetry system either. So, but when I ran coonhounds, I had tracking system, telemetry for my hounds. So, yes, it was a very real story. The bear had been any bigger, it wouldn't have climbed a tree. It bayed the first time when the dogs got on it, meaning it's on the ground. Really big bears don't like to climb. They'll back up to a fallen tree, a root ball, a ledge, creek bank or something like that and sit and fight. And so really aggressive dogs do end up getting injured. Matter of fact, during training season, we would take a lot of young dogs out and some of them didn't come home because they were just so aggressive with the bear on the ground, and a dog's really not going to fare well.
Is that you actually try to train them to not go in, or is that just trial by fire? They just got to figure it out.
They have to learn. Yeah. Some don't learn.
Yeah.
But yeah. And the strike dogs are typically what I would say more intelligent dogs. They have a good nose. They typically don't have the stamina to make the race all day long. You try to protect that dog. So once the bear's up and running and you got the rest of your hounds in, you try to get the strike dog back in the truck as soon as possible.
All the same breed?
We did not. They had blue ticks and I think blue tick Walker, and I don't think they said what the other hounds were, but we ran like Walker dogs to strike and get the bear up, get it moving, get on his feet and get it running. And then we would turn plots in. And plot hounds are what I'd say probably some of the most aggressive dogs as far as hounds go that you can find. And they can go all day. So it's pretty amazing their stamina. But yeah, very real story. And I love those stories. I read the old Outdoor Life stories a lot because it's just cool to think about what little they were, they don't have the firearms we have today.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. And so, but the guy who originally shot the bear in the tree, when it did tree, wounded the bear, right? Grazed it. And the guy that I used to go with to help handle dogs, he was a guide, and he would prefer somebody to shoot a bear out of a tree with a bow than with a firearm. And because when you stick a bear with a bow, you don't get the shock, and they'll sit up there and bleed out. So that when they roll out, they're dead a lot of times.
Versus the shock
from a bullet could knock them out of the tree like it did in that case, and the bear hits the ground and it's fully alive and
angry
and mad.
5 feet, 10 feet away.
Yeah. And they tie the dogs back, which is normal. right? The dogs got tied back before the shot's made, and that's so that, the bear doesn't fall on the dog, or if the bear has any life left in it. And this bear had life left in it, so they turned hounds loose, and probably to protect themselves a little bit. But the one thing that I was told when I first started doing this was, if a bear bays on the ground, if the dogs are barking, you walk, you whisper. If the dogs stop barking, you stop, because you want the bear to stay. And so the other most important thing was, if the bear breaks and he runs at you, hit the ground and cover your head, because the bear's going to run over you because he's got a pack of dogs behind him.
Yeah.
And so that was to protect you. And they said that don't worry about the bear. He's not going to hurt you when he runs over you other than stepping on you. The dogs are going to tear you up with their toenails when they go over. So don't lift your head until the dogs go past. But from a biological perspective, hunting bears with hounds is a good thing, because you get to evaluate the animal in a tree. We talked about that, I think, on another show. So it's a good way to manage the population.
And so when you say evaluate an animal in a tree, like what do you mean by that, I guess?
Knowing that you're killing a boar versus a sow, because the sow will put her little cubs up and take the dogs. Typically is what they'll do. They'll put their cubs up tree quick and take off. And
no kidding.
When you get there,
That's cool.
Sometimes the dogs will tree on the cubs, but most of the time they'll take the sow. But you can see if it's a sow or a cub or it's a boar.
Mm-hmm.
And, most of the time you don't want to shoot, sows or cubs. You want to shoot males. Unless you're...
If you want the population growing. Right?
Yes, if you want a stable. But in some places, like where Ryer was last fall, they have a really significant bear population, and they are not as, I'll say, regimented about not killing sows or cubs. So,
yeah, it goes back to the conversation we had about no management is not a management practice, right? You have to pay attention to what you're doing and manage the population for what you got.
So, anyway.
Yeah, they were having a lot of problems with bears breaking into houses, getting into garbage, because there's a lot of people up there that aren't really from the area or familiar with the area or familiar with bears, and so they might be there for a while, but they don't, like, you drive around up there and, like, all the people in the little more crowded areas, if, like, for out of town, would you have garbage bins out, like, kind of like we do in town here, garbage bins out. Like, none of them are bear-proofed,
Yeah.
Like, they're just wide open. Some of them have, like, plastic straps with, like, grommets or whatever and little hooks. And it's like it would be like a toy for a bear, you know what I mean? Like, most of the stuff was not even. So, if you have that, you have a community that's not super familiar with it, like, you're going to have more problems too. But big part of it is just excessive population up there right now. So
there's a couple things I should have done the research on. The whiz bang, whatever that.
Oh yeah,
Chicken plucker?
Chicken plucker.
I rewatched that episode, and I still cannot conceptualize what that is. I got to look that thing up. You explained it well. It just
I'll have to throw a picture of it up so everybody can see.
I think I got the general idea, like the contraption.
It is kind of hard to picture in that I've never seen anything else like it. But I will say that actually reminded me of something that I think you'll appreciate. So there was a video, I think it's like viral or whatever. A whole bunch of people saw it on Instagram, Facebook. This guy actually was talking about a trick that he has for plucking like his ducks and geese from hunting. And he pulls it out, and it's a power drill, and it's got a bit on it, and it's like welded to this metal, almost like a hole saw type of thing.
Yeah.
And on the outside of the metal like cylinder is a whole bunch of those rubber fingers. So he grabs the bird and he just does this with the drill and spins it up and down. And as he's doing it, he's like, "Oh, I shouldn't have done it this direction," because the wind was blowing and it was like pulling all the feathers off and blowing them into his face. But I was like, that is a mini version of the chicken plucker. Like that's the same idea. So I
can do anything with a cordless drill.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can drill holes in the ice, pluck a duck. There's a lot of things.
It's actually a really good idea.
There's a lot of cool.
Yeah,
So
there you go.
The other thing that okay, I should look this up. What does a bear-proof garbage bin look like?
I mean, I've seen lots of them. Some of them are just like hardcore latches or like things like what you see with like, I would say like Yeti coolers are supposed to be bear proof.
yeah.
They have like kind of
I got you.
hard plastic or elastic kind of like straps that you can lock into a certain position, and there's a nice seal. Then if you go to grizzly country, like around Yellowstone, their garbage bins are in like these like beastly metal receptacles.
Those I've seen.
And
but
those
not
are
like residential stuff.
Yeah, but those are in town down around the Yellowstone area because the bears will just, walk right through town.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, you don't need anything that hardcore, especially not for black bears, just because they're not as big and strong. But I mean, yeah, there's a ton of different things out there.
The best one we saw.
Oh yes. If I'm thinking of the same thing, it was made. The dumpster that they had was wood. I think it was all wood.
2x. Yeah. 2x8.
And they had taken. It was like electrical wire all around the outside of it, and I don't know if it was hot, but like the assumption is it was hot.
Yeah.
So if a bear, gets its hands on there, it just gets the
Yeah.
crap shocked out of it. So I would put, if I were to do that, I'd put like one of those little ring cameras across the driveway.
Yeah.
So you see a bear turn inside out, getting a hold of that.
What does
thing,
the
but
garbage man do?
I don't know. Well, I mean, they probably got some little thing where they can reach around it, but yeah, you wouldn't want to mess up if that thing's hot. It was
actually
looked like Christmas lights.
The funniest part of it, because we should have taken a picture of it, it had a yellow diamond sign on it that said "Danger, High Voltage." And I think Ryer said, apparently the bears are smart up here. They can read.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, they know that it's hot wire by the nice yellow sign on it. Yeah,
They're
right.
evolving. All right. Took anything away from that 13-minute dive into an article? Cordless drill is one of the best inventions man's ever made. Talk to Matt if you want to go hound hunting for anything, and buy bear-proof garbage cans if you live in bear country. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of this episode, anyone want to pray us in?
I feel like you have to pick.
I got a number.
Oh, come on.
Oh, jeez.
Just
Who's
pick
ever
someone.
closest? Nope. Got a number in my hand. I got a number in my head.
1 through 10, 1 through
Oh
a
yeah,
million?
1 through 10. Yep.
Oh.
Who's ever closest?
You have a number in your one hand.
No, in my head. In my one head.
It's on my fingers.
Yeah.
7.
1.
3.
Number was 5, so Dad prays.
All right. Father, thank you so much for this awesome day, for the construction that we did, that got done here today, and for these awesome fellows that we can come here and share a little bit about what's going on in our life. We thank you for an awesome church building, and that has us here, gives us a facility to do this. And we just pray your holy presence here tonight, that we could share our passions and our love for you with the world, and we just pray that we could get out of the way and let you do the talking tonight. Lord, we love you and praise in your name. Amen.
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 Man. All right, so I think for the I guess the basis of this episode, we're pretty good at getting off track, so we'll see where this goes. But for the basics, I wanted to do kind of how the different types of hunting look, especially to look at them as a beginner. Which one, I guess, as a beginner, you should know about, what you should know about them, what's kind of the pros and cons of them, what it's going to look like getting started in those, how to get started in those. Yeah, I guess I'll kick us off. Waterfowling, obviously.
Oh, I figured you're going to pick squirrels.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
You?
it's a really
Waterfowl?
big opportunity in North
Yeah.
Dakota is squirrel hunting. A lot of trees in this state. But no, so waterfowling, it's one of the best types of hunting out there, in my opinion. There's something about waking up in the morning and laying in a blind or in a field or a pond or whatever, and watching the prairie or the forest or wherever you're at just kind of wake up around you, because you're out there hours before it gets light, which obviously to some people is a big turn away, but I feel like most any type of hunting, you're gonna be getting up a little ways before dawn. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of with any hunting, there's time that goes into it. Waterfowling, obviously, if you want to scout right, you're probably gonna have some gas money and some time to burn. Some of the pros, it's a very well, I guess we'll say one of the cons. It is one of the more expensive types, and that's admittedly so. It doesn't have to be. You can succeed perfectly fine with a dozen decoys and a good shotgun, but a lot of the stuff you see online about the newest decoys being the best, that's not necessarily true at all. You can buy 10-year-old decoys, and as long as they're, not chipped or cracked or whatever, they'll be perfectly fine for you. Some of the pros, it's a very...
Can I pause you right there?
Yeah.
Because one thing that I think no matter what we're doing, I've alluded to this before. You can you buy used stuff, and but the one thing is try to plan a little bit far ahead. So look, when is your season start for waterfowl?
In North Dakota, it starts in August because we have an early goose season.
Mm-hmm.
Most states, it starts mid-fall to later fall, depending on how far south you are.
So if you're looking for used stuff, maybe don't start looking in September. If you look June, July, or ideally at the end of the season, because guess what? Nobody wants to store.
Everybody sells their old decoys.
Yeah, nobody wants to store that business. That goes for just about any, especially ice fishing. That's one of my addictions. I think I shared that before, but
We didn't
cruising,
know that.
Yeah, I'm
Could've never
sorry.
guessed.
I don't scroll
Hey,
things, but that's the one thing.
You guys are just really opening up tonight about
Yeah.
it. One thing I would say though on the used stuff, I'm all about used stuff. Most of what I own is used. However, I would say, unless it's from a retailer, be careful on the guns with used stuff,
Especially
because
the guns.
Yeah.
there's everywhere you go, there's different laws as to whether or not you can do private sales of guns or how you have to do them. I don't know that much about it. I just know there are rules. And the other thing is you never know what you're getting unless you really know your stuff, which I don't. So that's just a little note of caution, I guess.
Do you know the laws in North Dakota for
No.
private firearm sale?
No, I would imagine it's probably pretty lax. It's probably not super strongly
compared to a lot of other
regulated,
states.
because that's how we are with a lot of things, but I don't know for sure. So I'd have to look it up.
One of my buddies always has a table at gun shows, right? And so he's going everywhere. We should see if he can come on and give us the what for. He's also an auctioneer, so that's kind of a cool. Anyways, we digress.
I bought my shotgun from him.
Yeah,
Just realized.
exactly.
Anyways, some of the pros of waterfowl hunting, it is I know in North Dakota and a lot of the northern states, it's the first hunting you have access to of the season or the fall. In North Dakota opens in middle of August. I think the date this year is the 15th. Don't quote me on that.
Just came out the other day.
Oh, did it really?
Mhm.
All the seasons are just
I'll verify right now.
Spring goose.
Yeah, no pressure, Gentry. If you get it wrong, you're kicked off.
Nope, it's the 15th. I'm confident. It's either the 15th or the 19th.
Oh,
Yeah,
wait a minute.
Just
you
keep
said you were
going.
confident.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Mr. 60 plus.
Just keep going. We'll fill this in for you.
It's one of the first types of huntings you get access to if you really want to scratch that itch. I'd say it's a lot more calming than a lot of other hunting. That is very person dependent. It's also it's a lot more socialistic sport hunting than a lot of other types. How would you say that? Socialistic?
I was focused
Social?
on right. August 15th.
Social, there it is.
Social.
15th. I know because I have a wedding.
Socialistic. That's got a different term. I don't know if we want to go there. You can throw
No,
that
I
out.
thought about that.
I didn't even think about that. That was good.
All right.
That was good.
What
date is it?
It's the 15th, isn't
It's
it?
the 15th.
It is, but
Early goose season
the
starts.
earliest season is
It's
spring.
spring. That's on the 21st of February.
Yes.
Hey, nice. There you
Two
go.
for two.
Wow, that's only 2 days away.
No
so of
kidding.
course you're ready for
Seriously?
that.
Yep. Snow goose. And
Snow
there's-
goose.
Another good thing for waterfowling is conservation season for snows in the spring is, I know in this state for sure, I assume in a lot of other ones that do a conservation season, there's no holds barred for a lot of others like hunting. There's no plugs in shotguns. You can use electronic collars. There's not a cap on decoys for any state, but you throw out hundreds and hundreds of decoys. Yeah, so I guess waterfowling is the earliest hunting because it opens in the spring. I forgot about snows.
I suppose you might say there isn't another hunting season other than maybe like small game that you could hunt that many days out of the year. That's a lot.
Yeah,
probably archery's probably fairly close.
Yeah.
I guess archery runs from when September 1st to
It's usually the
the New
first weekend in September. So like this past year was like August 31st, I think, was opening day,
to
and then
New
it
Year,
runs till the I think it's the first weekend in January.
Oh.
So it's a solid, 4
right? 4
months.
Mm.
Well-
Seeing as how you like quizzing us, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Why is it a conservation season? The
Like-
spring season
Like, why do we have a conservation season?
for light
Snow
geese.
geese?
Why?
The numbers out of control in basically all of the United States.
And so, what's the problem?
What
with
is
that?
the impact? Ooh, I might know this. Can I go if he doesn't get it?
Well, I don't know if I'm gonna get it now.
Mhm.
They there's a lot of habitat loss due to them.
Where?
See, there's.
I know.
Can I phone a friend? There's
No.
2 places I want to say. I'm gonna go like fields.
What?
Dad?
What country? Let's start off with that. You got 3 to go with. Country.
Probably the United States.
Oh man.
Nope.
Oh, it's Canada. Is it
Yeah.
Canada?
Hey.
Mhm, mhm.
Even though they're not Canadian, Canada geese.
Yeah. They still
They still go to Canada.
The
All
tundra.
right. Well, enlighten me.
The tundra, because the sheer numbers were getting so high. I don't think they're as high. I haven't kept track of it, but they were getting so high that it was destroying tundra habitat, which takes an incredibly long time. Obviously, with this really tiny short growing season and so on, it was having impacts on a lot of other species.
Is that around the Hudson Bay? Is that? Have you,
Tundra all the way across?
Wherever snow
Yeah.
geese go.
but they still need their nesting grounds. They still need water, right?
Well, there is water, but the tundra
I suppose there's still
itself was
sloughs
being
and-
damaged.
Hmm.
I'm reaching way back to remember
In the
this
Wayback
stuff. So
Machine. All right.
He's reaching way back to quiz me. Where was that? Goose hunting. It's a very social hunting compared to pretty much anything except doves. If you get scared walking in the woods alone at night, go goose hunting. It's also
but you said you do it in the dark.
Yeah.
You go.
well, you
set
do
up-
it in the morning, but then you have like 2 trucks in the field, and there's usually music, and it's a great time. Goose hunting is also pretty accessible compared to other sports. If you're just don't want to walk as long or don't have the means to do it, if you got a bad knee or a bad hip like Matt, you can go goose hunting because most of the time,
Just get him.
Dude, it's titanium now. It's not bad.
It's like
It
watching
was-
tennis. Just
Ace. All right.
No, it's usually normally you can drive trucks out there, barring if the landowner has special, if he tells you not to, essentially, or if the ground's muddy and you don't want to tear up the field. Most of the time, you can drive into the fields. You do have to be a fairly nice. You have to know how to talk to landowners because 90% of the birds in the state are on private land, which it's not a bad thing. You meet a lot of really cool people actually. Goose hunting and scouting and
And their dogs.
asking around. Yeah, one of my friends got bit this year by someone's dog. He was happy about that.
You're really selling it.
Oh, yeah. I'm here to deliver
He's
the
good at
whole
this.
picture. Matt, if you talk about turkey hunting or deer hunting and just painted it this perfect sunny rose-filled field and then just this Boone and Crockett buck walks out and you shoot it, I will be mad.
I would call him out on that. I know he's never shot anything Boone and Crockett. So
Maybe in a rose field.
All right.
Where was I at? Gotta know how to talk to landowners. You meet a lot of cool people though. If someone's sitting on a field that you see, go up and talk to them. I've talked about this before. You meet cool people. The landowners are normally really nice. Watch out for their dogs. I have probably 3 friends who could testify to almost or being bit by dogs. I almost got bit by a dog while goose hunting this year in a field. Funny enough. I'll tell that's a story for another time.
I think you pretty much just covered it.
That's goose hunting for you. Watch out for dogs. It's a fun time though. It's a fun time.
Can I ask a serious question?
Yeah. You
You said you're no, I'm not. This is actually a serious question.
I'm ready.
As a waterfowl hunter to
Uh-huh.
a waterfowl hunter. Well,
Uh-huh.
I'm kind of a waterfowl.
You're everything, Matt.
Oh, come on.
I thought you'd say your most favorite part was cupped wings.
You know, that was up there, but I was really trying to sell the dog part of it. You know, I was getting the whole picture. But no, there is a certain aspect because there's something about knowing that you've completely fooled one of God's creations into coming into a bunch of plastic in a field. It's a amazing feeling, honestly. There's so much that goes into it. The calling, the time practicing your calls, making sure you sound good, the decoy spread, the whole morning essentially comes down to one point. Because if those first birds don't come in, it's normally not going to be a great day unless you switch something up and it really works. There is something cool about, shooting your first type of bird, whether that's a certain type of duck or a goose or a band or a morph or whatever it is. It's really cool. You get to see and experience a lot of different species.
What's a morph?
It's like when a snow goose turns, there's a color morph in snow geese, and they're called blue geese.
Yeah.
It's a color. It's a gene, right?
Color phase.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard of blue goose. I've never heard them called.
It's a morph when they're in between, like dark. When
that's what I was
some's
getting
dark,
to.
some's
Yeah,
light.
so they're like
Okay. I haven't heard it
halfway.
called that, but that is cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of, obviously, if you're really, really lucky, you shoot a band or you shoot some crazy hybrid like duck, which that's super rare. Well, I've never heard of it. There's a lot of stuff. You get to see a lot of species. I already talked about that. Probably more than I'd say any other type of hunting. Well,
Yeah, fishing might be the only thing that's got to beat
yeah. Well, that's
for
if you catch
number
a lot
of
of fish.
species.
And I guess it depends where you fish, but yeah.
Yeah, depending on where the lake. Yeah.
But as we know, there's only one.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of them
Only
matter except for
Yeah.
Walleye.
the eyes. Yeah,
The eyes have
The
it.
eyes.
yeah, that's right.
You can do water versus field hunting. That's a whole nother thing.
What do you prefer?
Field.
Why?
It's I just don't have. Well, all my supplies are geared towards field hunting, so that's part
Oh.
of it. But I like walking around a field a lot more than wading through knee-high muck in a duck pond, which is to each their own. I'd go if someone asked me and say they got a crazy loaf pond for geese or a stopover pond for ducks. I'm all for that. But if I had to pick, if I had a loaf in a field, I'm gonna hunt the field, just because I feel there's something different about hunting a dry field and watching those birds go legs up or whatever straight into the decoys. Not saying that they won't do the same thing over your water spread.
Feet down.
Yeah. Well, normally they don't come head first, but yeah, that's waterfowl hunting.
That went right over top of his head.
So I have
Anyone want a
Did
question?
any of you guys? Did you play an instrument?
What?
I've played a few. I'm not
Like-
very
like
good
in-
at any of them.
Yeah.
but-
So you had to endure the years of figuring out how to.
I played the tuba because I was the only one big enough to carry it.
well,
that's-
then your
that's
parents-
not a joke.
That's an honor. I feel like that's a cool thing.
Well, where I was going with that is as the father of a learning to be, and you're actually pretty good with it, but listening to these duck
yeah.
calls all hours of the day.
No.
And,
I like.
and you
at
have
9
gotten a lot
o'clock-
better.
At
but-
9 o'clock, I like shut off.
Oh, they'll be like, "What is that noise?" And
Well-
especially my wife and daughter, are like, "Is he whistling? What is?" Well, that's a deal call, I think.
No, it was a Drake whistle.
Oh, okay.
Normally I try to keep the practicing to in the vehicle when I'm scouting. In the off season, it works its way into the house a little bit.
What did you do? How did you practice?
I'm not very good. I quack and highball, and that's about it.
Mm.
I just try to get on the X.
You can feeder chuckle pretty well.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can do that, but
Well, don't act like it's like everybody can, because I cannot for the life of me. So
I can't.
Granted, I haven't practiced that much.
I can't
but-
hold one, but I can get like probably 3 solid seconds, but I can't go like a whole breath, just because like my.
Maybe next one of these episodes you should bring in a duck call, and we can do a little example of some of these sounds
Yeah.
Can
for the
you
microphone.
bring a turkey call?
Yeah,
I would love-
We
yeah.
could do elk, turkey, all that.
Well, I can't do elk for anything.
Well, I could do elk. I wouldn't volunteer you to call for a species you've never hunted before.
Isn't there one of those? Isn't for like a elk cow call, you can grab one of those things where you squeeze it and it makes like the.
Yeah, I don't do that.
That'd be my expertise.
I don't do that. But yeah, I think that'd be cool. Maybe we could
I agree.
get
That
some
is a good-
sounds,
The
That's a good
audio
idea.
side of it.
like do some little maybe demonstrations. Not that any of us are professionals by any means.
Well, some of the videos
But,
that you got on this channel, I was pretty impressed with how you guys call and going about doing it. I mean, I've never gone turkey hunting before, but it's one of those things where we're in waterfowl hunting too. I think everybody's heard of turkey in the wild, and you haven't been paying attention if you haven't heard geese flying overhead around these parts. And you know there's a knack to it, and you know there's times when it's like, okay, I get it. Now you're just being annoying. You know, if you call too much or too little. Anyways, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
I was basically done.
Some people call for themselves just to hear themselves, because in Canada, you don't need to call to those birds.
Oh, absolutely.
But guys really like to call to them, but they're not negatively impacting the hunt, you know? But some people just like to call to hear, which is fine. It's no big deal. It's just others are trying to say the right things at the right times. You know, when it comes to, well, it would be ducks too.
And like anything, I think what you shared last week is do a little observation, biology, you know, try to understand how they're communicating, right?
Yeah, I don't really understand that with ducks at all, but I will say with turkeys and elk, probably elk more than anything, but turkeys too. There's an entire language, you know, like you spend enough time listening to them and observing them and seeing how they're acting physically while they're making certain calls, and you can't always decipher it all, but generally you can kind of put it together. And there's a lot of times where this call might mean 2 or 3 different things based on how they're acting, but like, you know, if you're in the right situation, you know, sometimes it is just throwing stuff at the wall and see what sticks, because you don't know what the bird wants, you know, or the elk or whatever it is. Because some of them are just weird and they like a certain thing or they don't like a certain thing or whatever it is. And you know, we could save some more of that if we do some more calling stuff on a different episode. But yeah, I think it's honestly, it's kind of leads into what the hunting I was going to share about was just kind of archery hunting in general, I guess. I have to be careful as to not dive headfirst into this, as I've mentioned before, but in summary, it's close encounters and also, and it kind of the same with turkey hunting, which can also be archery, is that calling aspect of it. Like deer during the rut, grunts and snort wheezes and rattling and all that kind of stuff is usually a little more effective in those, you know, closer quarters archery settings. You know, you're generally not going to grunt in a deer that's 800 yards away that might not even be able to hear you or doesn't care. You know, it could happen, but usually it's those close range encounters when you get those opportunities to call, and also just observing the animals, like observing God's creation, seeing their behaviors at a level of detail that, like, you know, you hardly even get in a zoo, you know?
Yeah.
It's that kind of distance, that kind of range, but you're not looking through glass, and it's not something that's domesticated. And hopefully whatever it is doesn't know you're there. And there's a number of different ways to hunt and get close encounters. I mean, I've shot animals with a rifle, you know, inside 25 yards, big game stuff on a couple of occasions, bear, deer, things like that. So it's not exclusive to archery. I say archery because the weapon, the practice, all of that stuff just is more well suited to me. Like, I just enjoy it a little bit more than guns. I love guns. I love gun hunting for anything. But I just feel like I click with archery a little bit better. It makes a little more sense to me. But I've had some incredible close encounters with animals. Like we've reiterated probably too many times now, is like a lot of the times that you have the best days in the field, you know, or I should say the best stories from the field, it's days that weren't that great in terms of like how successful you were going after whatever animal was. So a couple of ones I just wanted to quick share that I was actually talking to somebody about the other day, and I was like, these would be good for this. Just, those encounters. I just consider them encounters with God because they're like, almost like it feels personal, even though it's some random animal that obviously has no idea of anything. But like times where the animal knew I was there, I knew the animal was there, and it still was, a thing. Like it still happened. So they were the first two that come to mind were turkey hunting, but in Montana. But I think it was the same. Yeah, it was within a couple days of each other. It's just full camo, mask on, sitting against a tree, trying to be still because turkeys, their eyes are real fickle and everything. So you got to be careful. And sitting against a tree, and I hear this little flutter, and some kind of bird, whatever it was, flew into the tree, and I didn't see it, but I heard it. And then all of a sudden I hear it scratching down the bark, kind of coming down towards me. I was like, whatever this is, it is right above my head. And then I feel this little, like walking, like just the lightest little tickle on my head. And I'm like, there's something standing on my head. Like, I don't know what it is, this bird. And it's just, bouncing back and forth, little short steps. But it's the lightest thing. Like, it's barely even putting a depression in my hat, but it's just enough that I can feel it in my hair. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden it down on the brim of my hat. And then I see right out of the corner of my left eye, like an inch or two from my eye, is a chickadee's head. And this chickadee is like claws on the side of the brim of my hat, bent over, looking down over around the brim of my hat at me.
Looking at you
like an inch or two from my eye, and it starts pecking the side of my head like 2 or 3 times. And it was like, and it flew away. And I was like, wow, it was like the thing was trying to get my attention.
Yeah.
Like it was just so, it might sound weird to use the word, but it's just so intimate. Like those moments with nature where it's just like, how could this happen? Like you'd never, but it's a chickadee. Nobody, you usually wouldn't even bat an eye, but like, I'll never forget it, Or I had the other ones, I had a squirrel, I think it was the same season. We call them turkey naps. We go out and just fall asleep sometimes, a lot of early mornings and stuff. So I'm sitting out in the woods alone again, and just leaning up against this dead stump. And there's squirrels running around all over the place and birds and everything, all kinds of noise. And I just kind of doze off. And there's those times where you remember what song you listened to, even though you were sleeping, or you feel or hear something or whatever, and it kind of like gets in your head, but you're not like conscious of it in the moment. I felt something on my lap, and it didn't really click with me, but then I felt it a little bit more, and then it was like enough to like kind of kick my brain on. And for some reason I knew not to move. Like I just opened my eyes and didn't move a muscle, and I looked down, and there's a squirrel sitting on my lap looking at me. That's like, like right, so it's 2 feet from my face, it's just sitting there on my lap, like looking at me with its little acorn or whatever in its hands, just chewing away. And it was like that moment where we like made eye contact. It was a split second and the thing ran off, but it was like, there was a moment where it was like everything froze, and I'm like looking at this squirrel and it's looking at me, and we're just like both thinking, you're not supposed to be here. Like, so anyway,
my stump.
There's so many other ones with, actual animals, game animals we've hunted and things, but there's just a couple of silly ones that come to mind where it was, those moments I just look back and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if God was trying to get my attention or if he was just, he was doing something, but
showing off for you.
What about the close encounters with the skunks?
Yeah, those were funny. They were a little less, cute, if you will. But do you want to tell that one, or do you want
go
me
ahead.
Okay.
It started with you.
Well, anyway, this was back to the bear hunting trip last September. We weren't having a lot of luck. The bears weren't hitting the bait, so we decided we were going to go around. We found this cornfield that was on some unposted private. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it was for hunting or what, I think it was owned by some dairy farmer or something like that. There was about a 20 to 40 yard strip around the corn that was just like mowed grass basically before the timber. So it's all timber up there, but it's this field. Yeah. And it's basically a square of standing corn, and it's September. So, it was early. It wasn't like it was going to be harvested yet anyway, but it was surrounded by this just grass meadow, like, a little longer than your lawn and your house would be. And we get in these like willows or sumac, or I think it was sumac. We got in on the side of the field that was like head high, just to kind of be able to see things. and not be tucked too far back in, but it was good cover. So we're standing there, and well, this was like the second time we went in. Me and my cousin are standing there, and we hear some rustling in the sumac. And my first thought, like, I'm thinking, is there a bear like right here? I don't know, probably not, but could it be? And he was sitting down on a little like trifold, little triangle chair right in front of me. Like I'm leaning against a tree. He's, I could reach out and touch the top of his head with my hand. Like he's right in front of me. And here's some rustling, and I'm like looking around, and I hear him whisper. He goes, don't move. There's a skunk. And I'm like, oh, huh, okay. And so I can hear the thing walking, and it's maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 feet away. And it's just like, geez, that's pretty close. Hopefully, he doesn't notice us, whatever. Skunk just cruises right on by, and we're kind of chuckling about it. And then, I don't know, less than 5 minutes later, we hear it again from the same direction. So I was like, okay, is this a different skunk? Like, what's going on? This skunk decides to walk right underneath his chair. So it walks literally like it's almost touching my feet. It's 18 inches or less from his bottom. It's standing under his chair.
Those chairs aren't
I
big.
couldn't really see it because it was underneath him. Like I was like, where did this thing go? Because I saw it go behind the tree like 2 feet away from me, but I couldn't see it anymore because it was under him. So I'm like, where did this thing go? And it ended up turning around and going back the way it came.
So you guys camoed up when you're bear hunting?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's not. We're not wearing face masks
Yeah.
or paint or anything. We're just wearing like camo long sleeve. It's warm. We got long sleeve shirts. I didn't even think I had camo pants on. I think I had like tan, like solid color pants. But anyway, we're sitting there, and there was a bunch of other stuff going on. There was some guy that parked in the wrong spot, blocking some part of the road, and the cops got called, and they pulled him out of the field. So we're watching all this commotion, and kind of just chuckling about the whole skunk thing. And then all of a sudden, the rustling happens again. And we're like, are you kidding me? Like, this thing won't leave us alone. And this time, my cousin, he stood up because we're watching out in the field. He stood up, and he's standing maybe 2 feet to my right, about an arm's length to my right and a little bit in front of me. And I'm still leaning against that same tree. And the skunk comes out, gets right in the same spot, basically, right underneath his chair. And, like, right in front of me. So that now I'm closer to this thing, and I could see it's part of it. I couldn't quite tell what it was, but you could see the black and white.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at him because I can't really see it that well. I'm looking at him to see him react because we're both just like, like statues still at this point, trying not to spook this thing. And then I see him raise his hands up over his face, and he turns his head away. And I just was like, oh no. Like, this is point blank.
Yeah.
And like he's probably going to get it worse than me because the skunk's looking at him, but and all this is running through my head, but then nothing happens, and he just kind of like slowly puts his hands down, and he's like looking kind of over his fingertips, and the skunk just walks right back in the
Like, did the skunk notice, or I guess could you?
The skunk. Well, I asked him. I said, "What happened?" Like I thought we were gonna get bombed, because he put his hands up, and he said it turned around, and flipped its tail up at him, and showed him the barrel of the gun, and he was just like, "I thought we were toast," but it just walked away. So, and then to follow it up, we go back in, tell everybody the story. We're having supper and laughing about it and all this kind of stuff. And everybody's like, I've never had skunks just walk up to me that close before, much less 3 times. And so we're just laughing about it, like, whatever. So we are dumb enough to decide we're going to go back in there in the morning. And so we go back in, we set up the same spot. He's standing 2 feet to my right. I'm leaning against the same tree. And it's like clockwork, like sun's just coming up. And then all of a sudden you hear rustling, same direction coming from down the row of sumac. And I'm just like, I look at him, and he knows exactly what's happening because he heard the story. And this skunk comes out, walks. I mean, I barely would have had to move my foot to kick it. Like, again, 16, 18 inches away from my feet. Walks across in front of my feet, gets about over to him, and it gets right in between us, and it stops. And, like, no joke, it literally stops. It, like, slowly just looks to the left, looks to the right, looks forward, and then just starts walking again. And it just walked right on by. Never even knew we were there that time. But we were like trying not to laugh. We're like trying to hold still, not to spook the thing, because I'm like, what are the chances? But
This is the middle of the day? Or in the
This
morning?
was in the morning.
Yeah.
The first 2 encounters were like probably 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, and then the third one that same evening was like a little bit before dark, so it was 8 o'clock. But when the sun went down and it was like shooting light was over, me and my cousin were like, we better get
Let's
the
get
heck out of here because now we can't see.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how many times you can get that close to a skunk without getting sprayed, but I'm pretty sure I'm out of luck. So next time I see a skunk, I'm probably gonna get nailed.
Yeah.
Quick,
Well, you wonder.
I guess,
No,
quick
go
question about skunks, since we have a biologist in the room. I have always been told that if you get that close with a skunk, if you pick it up by its tail, they cannot spray. I assume it's a myth.
It's true. Go ahead. You should do it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
I bet.
If I would have known that, I would have done it for sure. The one my
Let's see what
cousin told
happens.
me. The one my
you
cousin.
can still get sprayed.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
The one my cousin told me is that, which he didn't try it either, but he said, if you shoot them in the head, they die before they can spray.
That's not true.
Which, even if they can't physically push it out, it's still going to come out.
Yeah.
Because it's like a death
thing.
reflex type
all
thing.
animals, yeah.
But he did also say, because we were laughing about it, talking about it that evening, and he said, he was like, man, if that thing sprayed me, I was going to grab that chair and just start beating the crap out of it. Because he was like, I would have been so mad, because we would have just been, we would have been, like, they probably wouldn't have let me on the plane 2 days later when I was supposed to fly home. It'd have been so nasty. But
how come you didn't shoot him?
the skunks?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to get sprayed.
Oh, so
We couldn't see them until they were
until they're
within
on you.
10 feet of us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because the sumac, it's like dog hair. Like, the leaves are, there's kind of a canopy. Like, it's not leaves all the way down to the ground, but it's all these little shoots that are maybe as big around as a dime that are coming up out of the ground, and it's just super thick. And, like, skunk can walk through it easy, but you can't hardly see through it unless you're, like, on the skunk's level. So, it was, you couldn't it was far too close by the time we could have shot him or whatever. But
yeah, those things are, especially during the day, they're game on because, they get rabies and stuff like that.
yeah.
You always want, anyway, so that's awesome though. Like,
Yeah, that was another
Jeez.
one that was a little bit less like, oh, this was fun. It was a little bit like, man, I got lucky, but it was really cool. Same kind of thing. And there's probably dozens more. I mean, not just for me, but around the table. I know, I'm sure we've all had those kind of encounters, but the more time you spend out, and I think those types of hunts like archery where you have to be quiet, you have to be still, although it may not be as socialistic as Gentry would say, social. I find a little more peace there, and I find that you see those things that you wouldn't see otherwise. And I do spend a little more time kind of thinking about praying and talking to God and my faith and other things in life that are important. Like when we went out rabbit hunting this weekend, and afterwards I'm thinking about the podcast and everything. I'm like, man, I didn't think about praying once that time,
Mhm.
And I mean, that's okay. Like, you don't have to be on it every single moment, but I think I've made it sound in the past like every time I go out, I'm praying, or I'm, but that's not always the case. Sometimes you get busy on those little more exciting, active types of hunting, and you don't always think about it. So anyway,
I will say, you can go waterfowl hunting by yourself and do perfectly fine. I would just say out of all the sports, all the hunting, I guess it's way more common to go hunting with other people. I'd say it's also easier. But yeah, that was my thing.
right.
Either of you two?
all that work.
All
You're
that
not
work.
you're not
Wait a
gonna
minute.
what he does, and it's just like the amount of effort that you got to put in is probably about what it is
A
ice
lot.
fishing actually.
That's why I was laughing
Now that I
about a
think
lot of
about
work.
that. You want me to go next?
Yeah.
So I know you guys think I'm the ice fisherman in the room, but and I truly for me it's the season that you're in. Like, if it was wintertime all the time, I would hate ice fishing after a while, but it's the cool thing, and I just for my notes I went through and tried to figure out. So obviously we're we're getting close to spring. We had, I don't know, about a fall spring, whatever you want to call this right now, but
Well, it's going to get back up to 40 next week.
maybe.
Again.
Ice is growing, but the the spring of the year you run and you have some the best fishing of the year. If we're blessed in this state. You got to be careful with this. And we talked about your upper size of the fish that you're keeping, but you can fish spawn in North Dakota, which isn't the case with every state. And it's almost, for deer hunters, it's like hunting during the rut. Those fish got to eat, and that's a blast. I don't care who you are. You're catching big aggressive fish. That's what you love to do, right? And then I won't touch the turkey hunting. I'm not even an amateur there. I haven't ever done it before, but the access to the cool things that you have in the spring. The other thing that I love about ice fishing in the spring is usually people are sick of it and you have the lakes to yourself. People just don't want to do it anymore. It's
because everyone goes on the river.
Yeah.
Catch a big fish.
Well, that's an option. Just
where they are.
leave my lakes alone. That's all I'm saying. Right. So then you got summer, and everything that comes with summer. I will say, kind of to your point, Ryer, one thing that I've gotten to, preparing for the season, putting out, we talk a lot about putting out game cams, and the things you can observe an animal in its natural habitat, what they're doing, time of day, just things like a freak windstorm or rainstorm, or those kind of things that trip your cameras. Raccoons, skunks, all those things walking through, coyotes. Anyways, usually I don't like leave my cameras out all winter, so it's usually a spring, summer, fall kind of thing. And then obviously you get into fall and everything that you have with the bounty of the land that we live in. You have harvest season coming along, and you can just feel the land preparing for winter, right? It's such an amazing experience that you get to deal with there. So then obviously winter we get back into ice fishing or predator hunting or whatever you're doing. So it's I would say I have my favorites, but it seems like for me it's every changing in the season. It's like, ooh, now I got to get this ready or that ready. And I just appreciate the fact that, again, in this state, I think probably a lot of states, you're not locked into, well, all we have is deer hunting or all we have is upland hunting or whatever. Mm-hmm. So kind of rode the fence on that one.
It's your
I know
topic.
I know you're disappointed. So
no, it's your topic. Talk about whatever you want.
I think I hit them all. I do have some other cool things that I'd like to share that I don't know fit in. But Matt, what's your fave?
Hunting.
Creative.
Never would have guessed on this podcast.
I'll get to it.
I'm waiting.
Basically comes down to if the animal's good to eat, then I'm in. I used to run hounds a lot. Kind of that obsession thing that you've talked about a couple times, Dan, is that I was obsessed with raising, training coonhounds to the point where I was probably in the timber with dogs somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 nights a year.
That's crazy.
When I was a lot younger. But I've waterfowl hunted a lot. I have turkey hunted a lot. If I had to boil it all down, and this is when you start talking about what kind of hunter are you, like what is your species? And I ask the question, if you had to give up everything but one, right? What would the one thing be that you would keep? Now we're pretty sure Gentry's going to stick with ducks and geese.
Well, that's two species.
Which one would you pick?
Waterfowl. Okay,
See,
waterfowl.
I think geese would be his pick.
Geese are more fun to hunt, but ducks taste better.
Well, you got to pick one.
I'd
like
agree
you
with
said.
that, unless it's a speckle belly.
Anyways, yeah.
I never eaten specklebelly.
So, if I had to give up everything but one thing, I would keep deer hunting.
Not
You
elk.
know, that's a tough one. I've only been twice, and I got a feeling that if I had grown up in a situation where I could elk hunt a lot, I would probably choose elk.
Well, that's my
over it,
dilemma.
just-
I have a really hard time choosing anything against deer, but man, elk hunting is like, it's like the culmination of all the skills, the calling, the physical abilities that you need to keep up with them, the still hunting in the bedding areas, the spot and stock, the long range shooting, the short close range, the rut, all the stuff.
Way more meat.
We know what Ryer's
That
doing.
too.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is that I had a friend talk me into going turkey hunting when I think I was 24, and I didn't want to, right? He just kept after me and after me and after me. And he was like 2-time Pennsylvania amateur champion or something like that, calling contests for turkeys. He was very, very good. But I'm like, why do I want to go out in full camo and sit in the woods and sound like somebody's trying to kill? So I was like, I don't
Yeah.
like
That doesn't
this.
make any sense. Yeah.
But I was getting
Logical.
ready to leave for Missouri, and he talked me into it that spring. And he had scouted this bird and basically told me what to do. And I mean, the bird flew out of the tree, came down, strutted in. He's calling to the bird. The bird's gobbling. I kill the bird. Ruined. Right now, I got a turkey hunt.
Mm.
I wouldn't, if I had to give it up for deer, I would do it. But the thing that is so cool about turkeys and elk that is not to me the same as ducks and geese is that you're really kind of, in some respects, intimately communicating with the turkey and with that elk.
Yeah, you're flirting.
You're essentially, well, that's intimate. But that part of it, that interaction, and you can do it with deer. It's not the same thing. But that interaction, that vocalization, it's just really cool. Because one thing is that even if the birds don't come in or the elk don't come in, you hear them bugling. You know they're there. It's a great way to, I think, introduce people to a sport. Turkeys, I think more so than elk. Elk are a lot tougher from what I've seen. But you take somebody out and you don't see a deer, that could be boring or there's no deer here. But if you go out and you don't see the turkey, but you can hear it,
Keeps you
right?
interested.
Keeps you interested. You're there. It's exciting because I don't, if you were with he and I, we're walking in or getting to our spot or at our spot, and the first bird that gobbles, the bird might be, half a mile away, and we're just like,
Game
bird.
time. Yeah.
Everything, it could be like we have a game plan we've come up with for the last month, and as soon as that bird gobbles, if it's not somewhere that we had planned, it's like everything gets thrown in the garbage. The whole day changes.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of, and there's times like when Ryer said you just throw caution to the wind. We doubled on birds 2 seasons ago.
There's a video on the YouTube channel of that one.
That was with
Plug
your
the YouTube channel.
with
My dad's gun.
Yeah, your dad's gun. That's
right.
a cool video.
But the thing about that one was we were going to set up in a different spot. The birds weren't there. We made a snap decision, moved to another location. And when we got set up and the birds were gobbling pretty aggressively. And I just looked at Ryer and I said, just hammer them. And we went nuts calling at these birds. Now,
Oh, yeah. We called more in that 20 minutes or whatever it was, I think, than I've done in like even an entire day before. it was just because we would call a little bit and they'd answer, and then we wouldn't call because usually we wait a few minutes to try to get them to like get drawn toward, because if you stop calling, a lot of times they'll be more interested, as in like, if you're texting a girl and she stops responding to you, it drives you crazy, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same idea in the sense that like you call to them, you get them excited, and then you shut up, and then they're like, I gotta go see where did you go, And so that's kind of the philosophy that we call with a lot. But these birds just didn't move. Like you'd hear them call to a different hen later on or something like that, and they were still there. So it was just like, and every time, like he said, that we would call, they'd answer. So he just said, just light them up. And that was the first time I know that like you could have a certain type of calling or strategy or sequence or whatever that works, but the next day or the next bird or the next elk or whatever it is, it could complete. And I'm sure it's the same with ducks. Like you could have a group that like you could, give them that, whatever you want to call, and they'll just bomb right in, and then the next group doesn't care at all, and then you switch to a different type of call and they come. So it's the same with anything, but yeah, those birds in particular, they just loved everything we threw at them, and they just basically, I mean, we couldn't see them till they were within 25 yards, but they basically ran to us by the sound of it. Like they covered a half mile in, I don't know, probably 10 minutes. So,
but that interaction, right,
that's it,
and sometimes, and look, we're not the best turkey callers by any stretch of the imagination, but if you listen to that video, you can't tell who's us and who's hens.
It sounds pretty good.
I've listened to it a few times and I'm like, that's not Ryer and that's not me, because I can tell when he's calling, because he's got the way he calls, I can tell by the sound most of the time. And he probably similar with me, but there were hens there too. And that was one of the coolest things listening to it, was that you can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
Right. And one thing I will say about calling, I think it goes for ducks, geese, elk, turkeys, whatever you're going to call, what you're hearing in your ear with that call in your mouth is not the same way it sounds 30, 40 yards away.
Yeah.
So you may think you don't sound really good. Try, if you're doing this and maybe you're a hunter and you're trying to call better or whatever, practice, set some type of recording device out there 30, 40, 50 yards away and call and listen to it.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
Because chances are you are way better than you think you are, or you're sounding better than you think you are. But it's really strange. Somebody gave me this tip a long time ago. It's probably Ryer's age. And I did it, and I'm like, holy cow, that actually sounds pretty good, And then the other thing I would say is that I know guys who are perfect. They are literally like, they are amazing callers. But especially with turkeys, there are some really awful sounding turkeys out there. I mean,
it's true. Every year we hear at least one hen where you have to listen to it and you're like,
do better.
I know that's a turkey, but I never even heard anything like that before.
Yeah. So you don't have to be perfect.
And elk are the same way. I mean, if you elk hunt enough, you will hear some wacky bugle. Not as much cows. I'm getting them mixed up here. Not as much cows, but you will hear some wacky. A lot of times it's young bulls, but sometimes it's just just a bull with a weird bugle. But they will throw some weird stuff out there. So any sound that you make, there's probably something out there that makes an even weirder sound. And I'm going to let you go because I think I know where you're going with this, but if you don't go there, there's something else I want to add.
There's something I want to touch on too, so we'll just...
No, I'm good.
Okay, I was just going to say, along the lines of being a good caller, and there's birds that sound really bad, there are also birds or elk or whatever it is that love the bad sounds. Like, he's told me stories. I think it was in Idaho. He was hunting and they were getting on birds, and there was this guy that was like an incredible caller, and he just had everything down to a T. He could make all the vocalizations. The sequences were perfect. The timing, the cadence, everything. And the birds didn't want anything to do with him. And then he had a buddy who just had a box call, and he just started slapping that thing. And if you've ever seen a box call,
the ugliest
it's
sound
just
thing.
like a friction call where you're
Yep.
just making a squeak with a little bit of chalk on a couple pieces of wood or plastic or whatever it is you use. And he's just like tapping that box call, and he's like, it doesn't even sound like a turkey. And the stinking birds were just going nuts over it. So it's like, not that there's no reason to practice to try to get better, but like, don't let it stop you from going hunting because you think you don't sound very good. And on the same token, the animals are the best teachers. That's something I've heard said many times. If you want to get better, listen to YouTube videos, or even better, go out in the woods.
Get
Even
out
if
there.
it's not season, like obviously no weapons, but if you want to, go out, get camoed up, go or whatever, or go listen, somewhere where there's turkeys or elk or wherever you are, and just listen to them. And try to repeat, even if you're calling back to them or calling later, try to repeat the sounds you hear. Because even if you don't know what they mean, that is the number one way. I mean, he can tell you, I'm no great elk caller by any means, but I feel like I do okay. But that week we were in Utah, we did a lot of calling, and the way that I sounded with an elk reed I guess I did use a reed and a diaphragm, but mostly the diaphragm. The way that I sounded with the diaphragm on the first day versus the last day was like an entirely different person, because we hunted 7 days straight hard and calling every day. And I got so much practice, and I heard so many vocalizations from elk that I changed so much about the way that I called just by practicing. So can't overstate that enough. And I'm sure it's the same with ducks too, and geese, listen to the birds.
You get better practice. And like sitting in your truck or car or whatever, 100 yards away from birds, and looking at them in a field, you learn so much more than you will watching however many, videos or whatever it is. The two biggest things is obviously how they sound. You hear so many duck and goose calls, whether it's like honks, moans, clucks, drake whistles, hen quacks, whatever it is. And the way they sit is also, that's one of the best ways to learn how to set good spreads, is literally, and it's specific to every field, but look how the birds are sitting in that field. And obviously, people don't recreate that every time. People do U's or rainbows or J's or whatever you want to call them. But there's sometimes where if you don't do that and you just set them roughly how the birds were sitting, it'll work so much better. And that kind of leads into my next thing, which is overcalling is a real thing. And I assume it's the same way for elk and turkeys and whatever. But for ducks and geese especially, I know there'll be days where, and it depends on the weather and how pressured your birds are and where you're at and 100 other things, but there's been days where you have to honk at a goose twice, and they'll circle your spread once and come right down. And there's other days where, like, we're hitting 30, 40 notes on ducks, and they'll do 3 swings, and then they'll come for a final pass or whatever it is. It's a lot on the day. That first or second flock will tell you a lot about what you need to do for the rest of the day. I assume it's the same way with elk and turkeys. Like, overcalling can happen.
Oh yeah.
And another thing, get good at for ducks and geese at least. Get good at the basics of calls. You don't have to hold a feeder chuckle for 10 seconds or be able to do a double cluck or a quick spit. Just get a basic hen quack. Get your honk or get your clucks. Get your moans for geese, and you will kill so many geese. Like, you don't have to. You don't have to try and learn every note on a duck call or every specific sound on a goose call to kill birds. Obviously, it does help sometimes when your birds are pressured or it's late season or you got large flocks, but just learn how to sound like the most basic duck or goose or elk or turkey possible, and you'll probably be successful.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, just having a clean yelp. I mean, it's literally one sound.
Yeah.
And there's at least five different types of calls for turkeys that you can like actual types of calls that you can use to make the same sound. And you can shoot birds. You can call in birds with that one sound. Now, granted, does it help to have other ones in the tool belt? Of course it does, just like anything else. But there's certain birds that don't want to hear anything else. Like he tells a story, my dad tells a story about a bird that he killed or called in for somebody. I don't remember. But it was like calling, throwing everything at this bird, and he'd answer, but he wouldn't come, answer, but he wouldn't come. But then he'd make a purr, which is kind of like a sound that turkeys will make, especially the hens, but the males will do it too. It's a little different, but the hens do it usually when they're very comfortable, and it's a quiet vocalized. You don't hear it from a long ways away generally. But he makes that sound, and this bird just like turns 90 degrees and is just coming right, like stomping. Makes another yelp or any other kind of sound, bird turns around. So he said he had to purr this bird all the way in, and it didn't want to hear anything else. So, it's always good to have more of those. And you're not going to call every bird, elk, duck, goose, whatever in. Like you're gonna fail more times than you succeed. But I mean, yeah, like a locator bugle for elk. I mean, there's a lot of bulls that get killed by letting out a really basic flat bugle and then getting a bull to respond just to figure out where he is.
Where is he?
And then getting in on that bull, for example, or a turkey. And I mean, stalking turkeys is a different thing. There's a lot of places where that's not really a great idea because of that. You're making the sounds of something that, and you're not looking for this giant big game animal in the mountains where there's 100,000 acres. You're looking for a 15 to 20 pound bird that, hides really well, and you're using a shotgun. There's a whole bunch of different variables, but we'll go more into that as turkey season approaches here in a few months, or 2 months, I guess. Now that's all it is. 2 months away.
Far. It's close.
And your waterfowl season's 2 days?
2 days.
The snow
That's
goose,
nuts.
Yeah, snow geese is 2 days.
Friday, right? 21st is Friday, I think.
Should be.
So
Trivia.
sure.
Trivia.
There we go. All right, I did a turkey one. I know it's a little early, but
Nice.
I wanted to get it started.
I actually had somebody ask
I
me.
hate the turkey ones.
Shout out to Sam, the guy from Mississippi. We were texting a little bit in the past week, and he was like, "You guys gonna talk about some turkey stuff?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, it's coming." So hopefully this
We'll do one like
scratches
the-
the itch a
I
little
give
bit for
turkey
Definitely
over.
scratched the
Sam, by the way, is an incredible caller, and he is generous enough. He said he's going to make me some calls, and he's going to send them up because he makes.
Is this the guy you met? You were
Yep,
trying to
the guy I
hunt
ran
the
into
same
last
spot?
spring. Yep, and
That's cool.
we hunted together. But he just asked me the other day if I wanted some calls, so he's going to make me some calls.
That's a sportsman, man. That's,
That's
what it's all
and
about.
I bet they're going to be fantastic because I mean he's one of those guys where it's like he can make sounds. I was like, I didn't even know turkeys did that, and he can make those sounds. So anyway.
Oh my gosh, the amount of people I've met who we're sitting on a field and they're practicing duck calls and they kind of look out the side of their pickup and they're like, dude, you ever heard this? He makes this dog. It sounded like between a double quack and a feeder call, and I was like, dude, is that a real thing? He's like, yeah. You never heard a duck make that before? I was like, no, never. He's like, huh? I'll teach you how to do it. No clue how to do it. He was he's like, you gotta quack, but flick your tongue at the end and then quack again. It was the weirdest thing. Shout out to that guy. All right. The Game and Fish Department issued 8,137 licenses for the 2024 spring turkey season, and a record 6,847 hunters took blank birds. So how many turkeys were killed in the 2024 spring season?
And how many tags?
8,137 licenses.
For how many hunters? 6,000?
6,847.
All right, as the novice
This
in the
was
room,
2024.
2024.
like, you have
Okay,
to.
that makes me feel a little better
Do
because I was
they
like,
have,
2025, I didn't kill a bird, so I was apparently
I
in the
heard it was a
minority.
bad year around the
You
state.
get multiple tags.
And
Obviously.
some units.
Some units have extra tags,
So, it's
and
just
so
like
you can
deer.
have two. You can't have any. So if you get drawn, and then you apply, you can. Well, you're basically purchasing the tag. They go pretty fast, but you can buy up to one more in one of those units that has extra.
The
tags.
North Dakota, is it any different than deer lottery? They got extra tags. First come, first serve. You just.
I was
That's
just gonna ask
basically
that.
what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's for
Can you hold more than one deer license?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought so. I was just.
I had last 2024. I had 3 deer tags. I had a rifle tag. I had extra over the counter doe tag, and I had my archery tag.
I was talking like 2 rifle tags.
yeah.
Yes. You can.
Uh,
you can actually have more than
Or
2,
3F2 you can. That's
Well, I figured.
depending on the
it's
unit.
hot
Yep.
topic.
All right. Who
No,
wants
man.
to guess first?
Can I look at your phone and see the answer?
I'll say 7,317 turkeys.
Successful hunters out of 8,000 tags.
Yep. How many birds were shot, taken?
That's probably way too high, but
5,234.
Okay.
4,200.
Matt's the closest. 3,336.
Oh, geez.
turkeys.
Dang.
We were 2 of those.
There you go.
So
But there again,
I assume they. I assume they
taking
did
a
off
turkey
survey.
is the same thing as taking a deer. Like you don't have to report it.
Right.
it's
Right.
just a survey results.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there could be some birds that aren't accounted for sure.
Yeah, and shame on me.
Right.
I need to fill out more of those surveys.
I never fill out my waterfowl or small
I'm
game
sorry,
surveys.
Game and Fish.
I always
They have most of them electronic now, where you can just fill them out on an email, like on a web browser link, rather than having to do the
Mhm.
paper ones. So that's I honestly shout out to Game and Fish. I do a lot more of them now that they're in my email because it's easy to just open it up on my computer,
I don't
and fill them out.
actually. I do. There's one it might be the waterfowl survey. It's open when I go to apply, or they're still accepting it when I go to apply for my deer tags, and I do it then. But I think I always get them in the paper as a paper mail copy.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
they're
one
in
of
my
those
email.
things I kind of wish I could sign up for and be like,
Yeah, it might be something you have to check
just give
out
me
a
a
box
digital
for.
copy.
Yeah,
They might be in my
Well,
email.
you
I
should
don't
be in
figure it
there
out.
because you're in the system.
but you have to. I think you have
I-
to check a box that says you have to consent to receive
Email.
electronic.
Oh, I always click
Surveys
yes
or
on
whatever.
that, so.
But anyway, well, if nobody's got anything else, in honor of Ash Wednesday and the beginning of Lent,
Ooh.
I just wanted to share the gospel from today that they read in Mass, because it's I think it's a great verse and it's very applicable to Lent. That's why they read it on Ash Wednesday. But anyway, it's in Matthew chapter 6. It's a couple different groups of verses, 1 through 6, and then 16 through 18. Jesus said to his disciples, "Take care not to perform righteous deeds in order that people may see them. Otherwise, you will have no recompense from your heavenly Father. When you give alms, do not blow a trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets to win the praise of others. Amen, I say to you, they have received their reward. But when you give alms, do not let your left hand know what your right is doing, so that your almsgiving may be in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will repay you. When you pray, do not be like the hypocrites who love to stand and pray in the synagogues and on street corners so that others may see them. Amen, I say to you, they have received their reward. But when you pray, go to your inner room, close the door, and pray to your Father in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will repay you. When you fast, do not look gloomy like the hypocrites. They neglect their appearance so that they may appear to others to be fasting. Amen, I say to you, they have received their reward. But when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, so that you may not appear to be fasting, except to your Father who is hidden. And your Father who sees what is hidden will repay you." So in summary, for those of us fasting during Lent, or any time of year,
Mm-hmm.
almsgiving, giving to the church, giving to charity, whatever you're doing, giving your time even. The gist is, it doesn't really do you as much good if you make a big show of it and try to get pats on the back. Because those people, everybody else's pats on the back, as great as they may be, and as a good friend, you should pat your friend on the back if they do something like that. Not to say there's anything wrong with that, but don't do it for that reason, because their pats on the back aren't going to be what gets you to heaven. So,
Amen. Yeah, and it's I was just hanging out with Mike Erickson before this. He helped me set up this countertop. Anyhow, he recorded today's day one of the 40-day fast. You know what we're doing as a church here too. So, the fasting is obviously very biblical, and I didn't grow up fasting at all, and it's something that I've gotten into recently, and I agree with you. It's like a lot of spiritual disciplines. It's a hard thing, right? You know, if you're sitting there, well, look at me, look how great I am. You got to check your heart there. What is your motivation for doing this? And then one thing that I need to be better about, this is one thing we should ask Kurt on. When you break your fast, right? Do I sit there and eat 6 Carmeros? Sometimes. That's not good.
Yeah, not spiritually or physically.
No.
But yeah, and another thing that I just want to throw out there, and I'll let Gentry close it out if he wants after this. Fasting that I've learned in the last couple of years, fasting does not just have to be food.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people take it as food, whether it's, something on your phone or a certain behavior that you don't like about yourself, or food, or, going to bed at a different time than you feel like you should be, or even adding things. Fasting can also be adding things that help you in your relationship with God too. So that's just something to keep in mind. I feel like a lot of people just think of it as food. Doesn't have to just be food. So think about what'll help you grow in your faith and your relationship with God more than anything.
And that's the point. Nailed it.
All right, and with that, that's episode 12. See, it's back to Matt again next week, right?
I don't know, we'll figure about that offline. Maybe.
I think it's you.
Or it's me?
I think it's you.
Oh, yeah. We're back to normal rotation.
Yep.
All right.
right.
Well, he's going to be doing something cool next week, hopefully.
Mhm.
Maybe.
You'll see us
That's
then.
debatable.
Bye.
Appreciate you.